From a digital file to this, a multi-level, fully detailed centerpiece for any gaming table. This is the Watchtower from the Saxonia 2 Kickstarter, and it's an impressive project. It's a truly epic model that looks like it could take days to build in detail. But what if it didn't have to? How do you tackle a build like this without burning yourself out? How do you get it from your computer screen to a tabletop-ready masterpiece without it turning into a second job? Let's break down the entire process step by step. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're staring down this well-designed structure, the Watchtower from the Kingdom of Saxonia Volume 2 expansion. This thing is large, it's intimidating, and let's be honest, it's exactly the kind of project that makes you download the files, stare at them for a bit, and then quietly move on with your life. The sheer scale of something like this can feel totally overwhelming. But my goal today is to show you that not only is it possible to get this done, but it's also incredibly rewarding and, you might be surprised, pretty straightforward. We're going to cover everything, all the way to the final grimy details that make it look like it's been guarding the fields of Saxonia for 100 years. The incredible files for this Watchtower are from the Saxonia 2 campaign by Jacob Lucas and Conquest Creations. Seriously, if you're looking for high-quality, brilliantly engineered terrain that prints like an absolute dream, you have to check it out. I've dropped a link in the description for you. The collection is packed with amazing buildings, and they've even updated their original files for anyone who supported the first project, which is a fantastic customer service touch. Individual files are now located on the Conquest Creations website, and there's a link in the description. All right, enough talk. Let's get this build started. First things first, the print itself. One of the best things about the Saxonia line is how well these models are designed for FDM printing. The Watchtower is broken down into 5 main pieces, and the best part, it's designed to print entirely without supports. That's a massive time saver and means way less cleanup later. I'm running this on my Bamboo Lab A1. My material of choice is a standard PLA, which is tough, reliable, and just perfect for a large terrain piece like this. I'm using a gray filament because it gives me a nice neutral base and makes the priming stage a bit more forgiving. Now let's talk slicer settings, because this is where you find that perfect balance between speed and quality. For a big structural piece like this, you don't need insane detail. I'm printing it at a 0.2 millimeter layer height with a 0.4 millimeter nozzle. That's the sweet spot for terrain for me. It's fast, but it still captures all the great stone and wood textures sculpted right into the model. Sure, you could go finer, but on a model this large, the extra print time just isn't worth the tiny difference you'll see. For infill, I think 15% is more than enough to make it sturdy for the tabletop without turning it into a brick of solid plastic, but I just went with the standard PLA matte gray filament settings. The full set of 5 pieces for the ruined Watchtower took about 14 hours of total print time and 210 grams of filament, and printed on 1 plate. The full tower took 2 plates, with the tower pieces on 1 plate and the roof on another, for about 20 hours and 350 grams of filament. The real key to large prints is just patience. Don't rush it, get that first layer dialed in perfectly, and you'll be rewarded with clean, successful prints. And as you can see, they came off the build plate looking fantastic, and with no supports. With all our parts fresh off the printer, it's time for assembly. But here's where you have to make a decision. Do you want to use the tower as a one-piece standalone, or do you want to keep it modular? The painting process is easier for a single-piece model, but the gaming options are more limited. I opted to keep mine modular since I plan to use it in skirmish games. The undamaged tower is made of 5 main sections that just stack up to create its impressive height. But before you even think about reaching for the glue, the first step is always a dry fit. You want to make sure everything lines up perfectly and that there are no little stray bits of filament or slight warping that might create gaps. The nice thing about these models is that you've got a hole in the floor for people to come up the ladder, and you can line that up with the ladder. The engineering on these files is so good that everything just clicks together beautifully. Now for cleanup. Since these are supportless prints, there's almost nothing to do. You might have some minor stringing or a few little pockmarks on the surface, but you can clean those up in a few seconds with a hobby knife or a small file. Take your time here. A minute of prep work now saves a headache later. The biggest fear for many with FDM printing is layer lines. And yeah, if you get up close, you can see them. But here's the secret. For terrain, especially rustic stone and wood textures, they barely matter. In fact, sometimes they can even add to the rough hewn look of the model. And trust me, our painting process is going to make them practically vanish. If you do these as a single piece, check the model thoroughly. If you do end up with any noticeable gaps where the pieces join, a little bit of wood filler or sprue glue is your best friend. Just apply a tiny amount, smooth it over, let it dry, and give it a quick sand. Seam gone. For gluing, I would use a standard super glue with a little accelerator spray to get a quick solid bond. You want to be confident that this massive tower isn't going to suddenly deconstruct itself if it gets knocked over on the gaming table. I apply the glue, press the parts together firmly, give it a quick spray, and that's it. Now we have a solid one-piece watchtower ready for the fun part, painting. The painting process is where we transform a chunk of plastic into a believable piece of a fantasy world. I'm going to show you a method that's fast, effective, and absolutely does not require you to be a pro painter. Whatever you do, never ever skip the primer. It's the single most important step for a durable paint job. Primer gives the paint something to actually hold on to. If you paint straight onto raw PLA, you're just asking for the paint to rub or flake off later. I'm using a cheap and matte black spray paint from Ambrosol. This is an Italian company that imports into the U.S. and makes low contaminant aerosols and recyclable cans for their spray paint line. Why black? Because it does half the work for us. Every crack, crevice, and deep texture that the spray doesn't quite reach stays black, creating instant natural shadows. I'm hitting it with a couple of thin, even coats from about a foot away to make sure I don't clog up any of that awesome detail. Make sure you get it from all angles, top, bottom, and sides. With the primer dry, it's time to lay down the main color for the woodwork. We could spend hours base coating this with a regular brush, but we're all about efficiency here. So we're going to grab a large cheap makeup brush or any cheap brush for what is basically a heavy dry brush. Our main color is a brown medium craft paint. I load up the brush, wipe most of the excess off on a paper towel or cloth, and then just go to town, scrubbing it all over the wood areas. Don't be gentle. You want to catch all erased surfaces while leaving that black primer deep in the recesses. This method is incredibly fast and immediately sets our mid-tone while keeping all the shadows. To break things up, I'm mixing a little beige and a darker gray and just hitting random spots here and there. This destroys that uniform look and makes the wall seem like it was built from different types of wood over many years. It's a tiny touch that adds a huge amount of realism. Now for the step that ties it all together, the wash. Think of it as liquid talent in a bottle. A good wash will deepen your shadows, stain the surfaces, and add a layer of grime and age to the entire model. It makes every detail pop. I'm using a pre-made black wash, which I got years ago from the war store, but you can easily make your own by just watering down black paint with a drop of dish soap. I'm slathering this all over the wood areas with a big brush, letting it pool in the cracks and around the base, using the dry brush to clean up some of the spots where it pools. And I know it's going to look like a hot mess at first, but trust the process. As it dries, it settles in and creates incredible depth. Once the wash is bone dry, the model will look pretty dark. It's time to bring those highlights back and make the texture sing. This is where dry brushing shines. I'm grabbing a very light gray, almost an off-white, and using that same large makeup brush. This time, and this is critical, you want to remove almost all the paint from the brush. You want it to feel dry. Then just gently flick the brush back and forth across the stone textures. The light paint will only catch the sharpest edges and the highest points, creating that final crisp highlight. Go easy at first. You can always add more. This step takes maybe 5 minutes, but the level of contrast it adds is dramatic. The tower is now finished, so now let's move on to the roof. The process is pretty much the same, just with a different color palette. I start with a straw-colored base coat over all the thatch bits, then brown over the exposed wood and interior floors. I wanted the interior floors to be a bit brighter, and so I used lighter browns. I washed the thatch with a dark brown wash and then dry brushed with the sand color. Next, to get that wood grain texture, I'm taking a medium brown and just dragging the brush along the direction of the sculpted grain. This creates an instant illusion of texture. For the final highlight, I'll grab a light gray and just kiss the sharpest edges and corners of the planks and beams. 3 colors, a few minutes, and you've got believable weathered wood. The tower looks great, but now it's time for the little details that really sell a story. Weathering is what turns a painted model into a tiny piece of a real world. First, I want to add some green moss and general grime to suggest dampness. I'm using a thinned down green wash and just dabbing it around the base of the tower and in a few random patches where water might collect, or where people throw stuff out the windows. That little bit of color makes the tower feel like it's actually sitting in a field exposed to the elements. Next, a quick touch of metallic paint on things like door hinges. A spot of lead belcher followed by a rust wash makes those metal parts look ancient and neglected. The final touch is flocking. I'm laying down some diluted PVA on the tower where ivy and lichen might grow, then sprinkling on some fine green flock. This helps blend the tower right into your gaming table and plants it firmly in the world. It's no longer just a model sitting on a table, it's part of the landscape. Once dry, I spray the areas with diluted PVA to lock the flock in place. And with that, we're done. So let's step back and look at what we've made. From a set of files on a computer and a spool of plastic, we've built and painted 2 massive, awe-inspiring watchtowers that are ready to dominate the battlefield. We took a project that felt really intimidating and broke it down into simple, manageable steps. We used fast, effective techniques that prove you don't need to be a world-class painter or have hundreds of hours to spare to get a result you can be proud of. This watchtower isn't just a building, it's a statement piece. It gives you multiple levels for gameplay, awesome cover for your miniatures, and an incredible visual focus for your stories. It's a testament to what's possible with a desktop 3D printer and a bit of creative hobby time. So what do you think? What's the biggest, craziest project you've ever printed for your tabletop? Let me know down in the comments. If you found this guide helpful and want to see more projects like this from start to finish, do me a huge favor and hit that like button and share this with a friend. It really helps us out and guarantees you won't miss the next build. The links to Ambersol and Conquest Creations are down in the description. Thanks for watching and happy printing.